All right. So right now I am remoted into the computer upstairs. So this is exactly how the desktop's going to look when you get there. You have all of your shortcuts saved on here. You have your engage, which you really won't need to use this too much, other than if that MT20, that reader right by the computer on the drawer, isn't connected. So let's go ahead and start with the amenity access. What I'll do first is I'm going to go through an overview of the systems, how everything works, what is what, and then we'll kind of go through your typical resident onboarding and key fob process. So BioStar 2 is all of your amenity access control and parking control. So log in here. You all will have your own logins. We want to make sure that you are not sharing logins. Sharing those logins, basically, we can track who makes what changes to the system. So if somebody needs more training or something like that, that helps us track what's going on and who's making the error, right?
And this is for the white key fobs that click open.
Yep, the white key fobs do both, right? So they will they'll open the garage, and if you swipe them, they'll do the amenity doors. Golly. Actually, let's do that. Oh, if I could remember my password. All right, so every time you open BioStar, it's going to open on a dashboard. This dashboard, if there's any issues, it'll come up with a graph, color-coded graph that'll tell you if there's any issues, if a key fob is being used that hasn't been programmed in the system, or unregistered user, those kind of things. It'll stick out to you and it'll show on that graph right there. We haven't had any of those issues, so you don't see anything there. We'll go next down to your user tab. This is where you will add all users, whether it be residents, employees, or vendors. You see that I've got those user groups already configured for you, so you shouldn't have to do anything there, unless you want to create a new vendor group or like newspaper delivery or whatever. Exactly. So typically they'll fall under the vendor category. What I have right now is vendor category has access to the building 7 days a week, but only from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So if you put anybody in that category, just know that they can't access the building after hours. And we do that for a reason, because we don't want, the trash guys, they don't need to be in here Saturday at midnight, right? So we want to limit who can come in when. This is also, if you ever wanted to lock down the clubhouse, say the residents were getting, unruly and destroying the clubhouse, you could lock down the clubhouse at, say, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. or whatever. So all of that stuff will be handled in this section. Your device menu, you really won't need to change anything here. This is basically your readers and everything. It's already been configured for you, so you shouldn't need to change anything here. It's just always good to know what is in here in case I ask you to look at it in any troubleshooting. Your next menu is your door menu. This is where we associate each one of those devices to a door. The only thing that you'll really need to worry about here is your door open time. You don't want to change any of this because it'll affect how it each door is controlled, so you don't want to change anything there. The door open time is the only thing you may want to change. Say, once you swipe the fob, if the door isn't staying open long enough to reach, or it's staying open too long, so when the door closes, it bounces back and then doesn't latch, you'll want to be able to adjust those open times, and that you'll do that right here. You can go up to 15 minutes, but obviously you don't want to go that far. Typically, we find 5 seconds is kind of the sweet spot for this. Zone, we're not using any zones on this property. Access control, this is where you would actually create a new access group. So you see I've added the EDCO trash, employee, and resident. So if you wanted to, again, add, plumber or after hours or security or whatever you wanted to add, you could add that group right here. The main thing is you want to separate, you want to make sure everybody is in their proper category when you're programming a resident, because if you put a resident as an employee, but then you go to try to lock out these areas, that one resident won't be locked out. So you want to make sure that that's a critical step when we are adding residents, that step is followed. Monitoring is where you're going to find out what's happening on the property and when it happened, right? So if there was damage, in the lounge, you want to know who was in here, this is where we're going to go. You can do the real-time log to find out what's happening right now, or you can go to device status or door status, and you can filter all of these search results, by door, by person, however you want to filter it. Time and attendance we are not using. So now what we'll do is we'll take a look at the apartment lock software. That's that Engage. Each one of these software systems, they have a corresponding app, and we'll go through both and how they work and what the differences are. You might find that the app is easier, especially on the apartment locks, to onboard a resident, but you can do it both ways. So basically what you're going to do is when you are onboarding a resident, when a tenant first moves in, we're going to go ahead and select add user, and we will go training, test, email, phone number, all of that stuff you can skip. It's up to you if you want to keep that on here or not. If it's a resident, we're going to select the group as resident, and the very next thing we'll do is select employee access group. Okay, so this access group is what assigns, what time and where they have access to. So those are the two main keys you want to do first. The next section here is operator level. Residents will not have an operator level. An operator level is who can log into the software. So when we set you guys up here, we're going to type in your passwords and do all the username and all of that good stuff. So any new employee that needs access, this is where you will add their access to the software, is right here. Next thing you will do here is you will add the card. We kind of went through this both of you guys have gone through this with me remotely. Any swipe function is going to be, whether it's the white fob or the little gray fob, is going to be CSN. Okay. And then you're going to register by the card reader, and you will select the programming reader, and that programming reader, we'll go over it later. You both have used it already, but it's the one that's mounted to the left side of the rack there. So once you get that selected, you'll go ahead and select read card. This will then populate, the card ID will then populate. You'll click enroll. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to add the transmitter portion of the white key fob, the button, and that's going to be weakened. And again, you'll register by card reader, but instead of program reader, you are going to select Wiegand reader, and then you'll select read card, hit the button and it'll again populate, and then you'll click enroll. And you'll do that for as many fobs as that one resident gets. If there's 2 people in the same unit, assign them different key fobs, right? Because you don't know, there could be a bad breakup, whatever. You want to be able to delete that one key. You don't, without having to delete both of them. So make sure that everyone has their own unique ID. Everyone is programmed separately. Don't join them. Don't share them. You know, everybody should know, because that way we can track, you know, again, who's in, or if there was a bad breakup, you know, whatever, we can just stop access to that one person and it doesn't affect the other one. So always make sure that you're doing them separate. Once you're done here on this page, you're going to click apply. Anytime you make a change and you see the button apply or confirm, click it, because if you just exit out of that screen, everything you did is gone. So you want to make sure that you go ahead and click apply. And once we get upstairs, I'll have you guys add a key fob to that training test, just so we can go through the process one more time. So now we've done the amenity locks and the parking garage. So now we're going to go to the apartment lock section. So now what you're going to have is you'll go to add user. You can enter in the email address. The email address is only critical is if you guys ever decide to do mobile credentials. If you wanted somebody to use their phone to be able to get in, I don't know that on this property it's something that ownership wants to do, just because of the cost associated with it. So we'll go ahead and click save. Another thing to mention is on both the Engage and the BioStar is the expiry date. Engage is going 5 years out, and BioStar goes to 2030. One thing you may want to consider, this is completely an operational decision. What we've seen in the past is properties go end of lease plus 5 because they got to come get their mail or whatever else. The only thing, if you do choose to do that and choose that expiry date, which it makes the system more secure, right? If somebody moves out, you don't get their key fob, okay, you charge them, that's great, you charge them for that key fob, but you also don't remember to go and delete it out of the system. So now that person still has access, right? So I would do the expiry date. Just know that if somebody renews their lease, you have to renew it in the system. Yep. Correct, yep. So now we'll go ahead and save that person there. So now that person is saved. So now we are going to add a credential. And this is what we did before. So what you will do is once you'll see here that this list of existing credentials is empty. What you're going to do at this point is you're going to present the fob to the reader on the drawer. Wait until the light turns green, and then you're going to see a box pop up. You'll select that key fob and click save. That credential will now be over underneath the resident's name. And again, we'll go over all this once we actually have key fobs in front of us. So now we've assigned a key fob. Now we need to assign access. So say they are in unit 104. Actually, 104 is occupied, so we'll change that. We'll click save. Okay, so now once this is done on this, once the credential is populated right here, you'll see it come up. There's going to be a orange exclamation mark. Go ahead and click on that key fob, and this is where you can do the key fobs 2 different ways. You can do it at the door with your phone, or you can do it on the card reader upstairs. So when you're doing it on the card reader upstairs, it's what is called no tour. So basically what it is not only are you putting the credential, the number, you know, associating the number with the lock, you're actually reprogramming that lock with that key when you go to the door. So you'll place that credential on there, wait until the green light flashes 3 times. It's important that you do that, because if it does not flash 3 times, it will not work and you're gonna have to do it again. So that is the onboarding for the amenity access and apartment access. Now we will show you the telephone entry panel, which nobody has right now because I don't have any phone numbers for anybody. So you guys are going to have to go through and re-add everybody. Again, you'll have your own login for this. pretty simple setup here. What you're going to do is, back to user. You can go ahead and click add new user. Test. Again, birthday, email, not all of that is important. Obviously, your phone number is important. Otherwise, it won't call you. So.
Can we do the leasing office?
Yeah, yeah, we can add a leasing button. Actually, we'll have to add a credential in BioStar for leasing to be able to do that, but I'll show you how. So yes, we want them to be in the telephone directory. Their directory display name, typically we go last name, first initial. It's up to you and how you do that. Obviously you want to make it as not obvious as possible. You know what I mean? You don't want to put first and last name on there just because. So, first name, last name, first initial, however you guys want to do that is fine by me. Dial code. The dial code is basically what communicates to the access control system to let them back in. So when you have programmed them in BioStar, you'll see, we'll just pull up mine for instance. You're going to see this number here, this 24152. That's the number on the transmitter. Okay, so that's also going to be your dial code for that resident. So you'll remember whatever their transmitter was, the 26-bit Wiegand, that is the number that you will type in here on the dial code. You'll go ahead and click next. That is saved, and give it a couple of minutes, and then you'll see it go ahead and pop up back over on the panel upstairs. Always make sure that when you guys are programming key fobs, just to avoid any kind of problems, do them the day before. Make sure you've tested them. Make sure it opens the doors. All of that good stuff. It's just a bad look when you hand over a key and the resident has to. Exactly. So it takes just a few extra minutes. I mean, once you guys get used to this whole process, the onboarding will take less than 5 minutes. So you guys saw how quick it was last week when we did it. So it doesn't take long. It's just you have to follow the steps, right? So basically I go BioStar, Engage, then call box, because you have to do BioStar before you do the call box because you have to have that dial code number, right? In all of these systems, you guys will have the links. If you need to access them remotely, you'll have access to them remotely. Yeah, you can unlock doors, you can do all that stuff. A lot of times what I'll do is if I know I have a move in, I'll do all the prep work. I'll put in their name, I'll put in all of that stuff in all 3 systems. Done. I'll just log in remotely, do that the day before, and then when I get to site, all I have to do is add the cards and I'm done. Then it kind of cuts down on time. It's up to you guys though on how you want to do it, but I find it's a lot easier to do it that way. One thing too is with the key fobs, don't pre-program them to units just because there's no point in having extra keys for units laying around, right? Just program them as they come in. Then there's no need for the big giant lockbox and all of that stuff because they're dead keys. They don't belong to anybody. So just program them as they come in. Don't, because one thing too is if you program them as they come in, what's going to end up happening is you guys are going to label it unit 207. It's going to be programmed 207 and you're never going to change the name because the resident's in, right? So then I don't know, is that Steve in 207 or is that Janet in 207, right? And those are the things with access control, the biggest key is the database, right? Like it's only as good as the data you put in it. If you put crap in it, then you're going to get crap out. You're not going to be able to track. You're not going to be able to do anything, and being able to track who was in an area at a certain time is critical when you have damage and shit like that. I mean, we have surveillance, right? Which is great. Well, do you want to search the surveillance video for 5 hours or do you want to go to here and get a 10-minute block of time? Exactly. So that's going to help you isolate that and save you a lot of time by, managing this database and understanding who was where when. That's it for the access control. We'll now pop over to the surveillance. Again, the surveillance, you do have remote access to it. So either PC, Android app, iPhone app, anything, you'll have access. And I'll show you all those apps too here in a second. So you have a total of, I think there's 7 cameras on this property is all we have. So right now I just set up on a sequence where it'll just go back and forth through all the cameras, but down here at the bottom, you're gonna see blue is because they're recording 24/7. So blue is where it's recording with no motion. It's just recording. Green is your motion. So if something happened in the lounge, sometime between midnight and 6 a.m., you're gonna see the green motion areas. Yep. So that'll be a good indicator of who's done what, or what kind of video you're looking for. You can adjust this slider. I mean, it's pretty straightforward as far as time frames of what you want to do. You can do a custom search bottom left. You can zoom in on these as well. So if I wanted to,
Oh wow.
let's see here.
Oh wow.
So that's just a click and drag with the box. All right, so once you have your video and your time frame of what the incident that you want to see, the next important thing is how to download the video and how to get that to the proper authorities, whether it be the police or, yep, exactly, or handing it over to the resident, showing them that you have them on video, drunk breaking the TV. Yeah, we have used that before. So you'll hit this download button. You'll select the cameras that you want to download. You'll go ahead and type in the time that you've already searched, and then you will go ahead and click download, and that'll download to an AVI file that can be played on pretty much any device. That's pretty much, if you're on the cameras and for some reason you want to record what's happening, you can hit the record to PC button and it'll record that certain clip. So I doubt that you guys will use that function because it's not a monitored property. That's mainly for if you have a security guard watching the cameras and he sees something stupid happening, he can record it as it happens. Yep. The settings menu here, I don't want you guys in here just because there's really no need. I mean, the only thing you guys are gonna do is search video, right? So anything in here can get a little bit dangerous. I just want you to know in case we have to do some remote troubleshooting and I say, hey, go to the settings, check this. So your storage management, we can see that both hard drives are good. They're both writing. We're solid there. This is where we would change continuous recording versus motion recording. So what we can do is, you have a terabyte per camera, right? So that should get us about 30 to 45 days. I don't think you're gonna need any more than that. But if you decide you want to extend the recording time, you can change it from continuous recording to motion only. Just know that if you do that, they're not perfect as far as picking up motion, right? So I could be sitting here, I triggered the motion, I'm sitting here for an hour, I've no longer triggered the motion, now I throw something at the TV, it may not pick that up. Yeah.
And if a tenant comes and says, hey, this incident occurred 2 months ago, since it's beyond that 45, I can't pull it up on camera.
Correct.
So it need to be sooner rather.
Yeah. And it does happen. I mean, tenants,
Say, hey, I didn't tell you for 2 months, I've been traveling, this happened to my car.
Yep.
Gotcha.
At the end of the day, the way we look at the surveillance cameras, especially on a smaller property like this, it's more for asset protection than it is resident. Exactly, right? So we're mainly trying to protect the asset. We're trying to determine who broke what in this area. That's what they're for. They're not really for resident protection. It is what it is. I mean, if we had it for resident protection, we'd have it in every corridor. Exactly. So, and some people like that and some people don't. All right. Next thing we're gonna cover is the Sonos. You won't have to do this too much because really what I want you guys doing is more controlling the Sonos from the touch panels. That's what they're there for. I just want you to be familiar with it so you can add favorites, change favorites, and do that kind of stuff as you wish or as Carly wants you to do. She'll kind of be in control of that. You'll see that we have 3 zones of audio. You've got the lobby, lounge, and then the conference room office. Each one can be played independently, or like if you have a grand opening event or a party, you can go in here and you can group them all together.
Okay.
So, which is kind of a cool feature. But one thing that you have to remember is if you group them all together, you have to remember to ungroup them, because what'll happen is somebody will want to use the computer in the office and they can't connect because it's playing the music out here, right? So then it's going to create a service call for you. So if you do it, just make sure that you take it off. Yep. So, and I would only, some properties do it all day long, because they want a vibe going through the property, which is great.
That's fine.
But you also want the residents to be able to enjoy their space. I mean, they spend quite a bit of money, so if they want to watch a game on a Saturday and you have a tour, well, let them watch their game. Some properties they don't see it that way. They think it's their space until 5 o'clock or until the leasing office closes, and then the residents can have it, But so the touch panels all link to the Sonos favorites. So once you change the Sonos favorites, it's going to change what music can be selected on the touch panel. And limiting what is on the touch panel limits what they can play out here, right? So going to that same thing of, yes, you want the residents to enjoy the space. Well, you don't want them playing death metal while you're doing a tour, right? So it's an easy way to say, hey, no Bluetooth speakers. We have, you can pick from our channels. That's it, right? Unless you've leased this space or whatever. Yep. So your Sonos favorites are here. One thing you can do is, right now it's linked to Spotify. So if I wanted to add a station to Sonos favorites, I would just go to that station, click the down arrow, and click add to Sonos favorites. And then you'll see that station is now showing up in Sonos favorites and can now be selected from the touch panel as a music channel. We've got Sonos there. All of the systems are really easy as far as how to operate them. It's just a matter of getting used to operating them, right? And it's going to be a little bit harder for you guys because it's not like you're going to have, it's not a big 200 unit lease up. It's 28 units. So once you guys get this leased up, you might not touch the access control system for 7 months. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So we will post all of these videos to our training page.
Oh, perfect.
And that link is saved here. So all of these videos will be right here. All of the written manuals will be up in this location. One thing, always look at this first, right? You guys have 20 hours from the build contract for service, right? But I caution you against using it for something you should know how to do. Because what's going to end up happening is, Jason, I just don't have time to program this resident. Can you do it? Okay, that's fine. It's gonna take your hours away, and then when you actually do need help or you do need tech support, you have no more hours and it costs. So, be careful. Look at the manuals. Make sure that we didn't cover it.
Troubleshoot it yourself.
Exactly. And we give you guys the tools, right? It's not like I'm just throwing you to the wolves and saying, here, we're going through it, and that's why we're going through it. And so all of this is, it's meant to be a supplement of everything that we're going over today, right? It's not, if a new employee comes in, you can't just sit them in front of this and say, watch all these videos, here you go. You have to actually, exactly. So, it's a good tool, but it's definitely not all encompassing. I can't include every single thing that could go wrong just because it's electronics. There's only so much storage I can put on this website.
And you'll be be emailing us that link?
Yep, you will have the link. It'll be as part. I'll send out the training confirmation. You guys are going to sign that I trained you. It'll be on that sheet that I'll email you, and then you'll have another sheet with all the links for your apps, all of the software links to get into PC, all of that stuff. So you'll have everything. And then again, if the links to the iOS and Android apps are all at the bottom here as well on that same training page. And then all of your owner's manuals for the equipment, all your as-builts, what's what, how it's all connected is all right here as well. So you should have all of the tools that you need to operate and manage and, take care of the systems. I mean, I don't see, because this is so small, that I don't see any major issues that are going to be, oh my God, help. There could be some, but we'll go over those when we get upstairs. And that's where I'll video the rack. Because that's the main thing too, is knowing where the components are, what they do, and how they function, right? And when to, and how to troubleshoot it, right? If something goes wrong, if, say the panic hardware isn't unlocking, I'll be able to show you what to check first, right? So.
And in case of, say, like a code red situation where the entire property loses power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Will the key fob access just automatically shut off, or will people still be?
It has backup for 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
That's it. Okay. Unfortunately, there's no generator or inverter on this property, so if that happens, it is what it is, right?
Just open the doors and come in and out.
Yep.
Until the power's back for you.
And I'm trying to think. Yeah, because.
Like if someone's coming home at 1 a.m., there's a power outage. They
Yep.
Get in.
Then
contact resident manager.
Yep. Yeah, because then you guys will have a manual key to bypass. Yep.
Okay.
Next.
2 a.m. phone call. In an emergency, I don't see that happening, but you never know. I've had it happen to me in DC, so yeah.
We just had a property. Somebody, drunk driver, hit the transformer on the curb, took out the whole property for a whole weekend.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was brutal. They're yelling at me, why doesn't the access control system work? I'm like, well, do you have power anywhere? Then that's why the access control system doesn't work. Come on, guys. So here is the service request form. You guys have both seen it. Again, with the service contract, if it's after hours, it's every service contract is a 2-hour minimum, right? Because I have to stop what I'm doing, start working on yours, and then go back to what I was doing. So it's a 2-hour minimum. If it's after hours with the 20 hours that you have, it's 3 hours. If it is on Saturday or Sunday, it's 4 hours. So basically, if you fill out a service request and mark it as high priority on a Saturday, I'm going to get to it, and you're going to get hit with the 4 hours. If you see a problem on a Saturday, mark it low priority, and I'll get to it next business day, right? So that'll kind of help protect your hours too. Some properties will, it's high priority because the music wasn't working on a Saturday. Well, is it worth, the 4 hours or $800 service request?
Exactly.
Because then I submit the bill. Why was it that much? Well, you acknowledged it. You marked it high priority on a Saturday.
Check the box.
So just know that, we try to do our best to get to you guys as soon as possible. So if you do mark it high on a Saturday, we're going to assume that it's a high priority and you want it taken care of. So, because I can't go back and say, you know what, Tiago, that's not high priority. I'm not going to answer that. Because the one time I do that, you actually did mean it was high priority. And then, exactly. So just make sure that you're, kind of thinking about that when you do it. High priority is usually reserved for all systems fail, we can't get in, that kind of stuff. That's what that's for, If you have an event and the TV isn't working, okay, I can see that that's a high priority issue, right? But 9 times out of 10, it's all going to be normal priority as far as we're concerned. You can tell, again, if it is high priority, follow up with a phone call. Let us know, hey, we need your help right now. So, and we'll get to you. So we'll make sure that you're taken care of. We never want to leave you guys hanging. We're a small company, so we want to make sure that we take care of you guys the best we can, because people walking around saying Jason sucks doesn't really help me very much.
Especially for small companies, you don't want
So we've got that covered. We have the surveillance covered. Let's go ahead and step into the applications now. All right, so we'll start with the surveillance app. It looks a little weird just because it's the iPad app being cast, but. So what you'll do here is I have these are actually set up on another property right now. So if you want to change the camera view, touch, hold down, and drag up. And then it'll automatically default to that last view that you had. So if you want to add a camera, I have access to all these. You're only going to have access to the La Mirada ones, but you'll select there. And then again, it's just like anything else. However good your internet connection is, how good these are going to connect. You are streaming video, so it could be oversell. It could take a little bit of time. You can again still zoom here by hitting the plus arrow at the bottom left corner. You can change the view. So if I wanted to add all of the cameras. And then if you want to download the video on here or playback the video, you will just hit the play button here, select the camera, select the time, and playback. Yep, pretty easy to use. You will have to download the Luma app as well as the Oversee Home app. The Oversee Home app is kind of a cool application just because it kind of limits service calls, right? So a lot of times cable boxes will freeze up and you'll have to go into the rack, unplug the cable box, wait 30 seconds, plug it back in. You don't have to do that. So on this Oversee Home app, you'll see the cable reset, you'll see lounge cable TV reset, conference room cable TV reset, and you'll see a control system reset. There's
the conference room TV is actually down right now. Do you want to try resetting it to see if it works?
That cable box is bad.
Oh, okay.
So I'll show you upstairs. Because I was troubleshooting it last time and that it just gets stuck on the boot screen. So we can go ahead and try to reset it. So once you click it, hit confirm, and it'll reset the power on that device. So it's kind of nice. That way you don't have to get in the rack, start unplugging stuff. You can do it remotely, that kind of thing. The control system reset, there's a couple of different ways to troubleshoot the control system reset in the need for it, right? If I can control the TVs, but not the music, then it's probably not the actual control system. It's probably something with the music, right? So, if you can't control the TVs or control the music, you're probably going to need to reset the control system. And, it does happen from time to time. Sometimes it'll, just get locked up. I don't see it happening all that often here just because there's only 2 touch panels and we're really not controlling a whole lot. So, but those are the things that, we want to provide you guys with the tools to do things easy, and to be able to do those things yourselves rather than digging in the rack. Because a lot of times people are afraid to go into the rack because, oh, we're going to break something. Well, no, I wouldn't tell you to go in there if I was worried about you breaking something. But with that Oversee app, it just gives you that ability to do all that stuff remotely without either A, coming to the property, or B, having to go upstairs and open that rack. So there's that one there. BioStar 2. This you can remotely open doors, you can check logs, you can do all of that stuff within the BioStar app. Again, all of these links are either on the training page or I will send you a link directly. Some of them, the apps and stuff, I'm fine. Those links are on the training page, but a lot of the actual software links, because they're direct access, I don't put them on that training page. You'll get those direct via email. So Log back in. I give myself complicated passwords. It's easy on a computer, but kind of a pain in the ass on the small keyboard. So yeah, you can check your users. It'll bring up your user IDs, all of that stuff. You can get into your door menu. You can remotely open doors, that kind of thing. So somebody's at the property. Yep, you can remotely if you have a maintenance guy down there and you're off property, you can remotely open those doors. So,
you're at your other job or whatever, it's like, okay, this is why I'm letting this person in.
So what you would do is say if I wanted to open the parking, I could go to door control, and it's going to be open and release. So once you open it, wait a second and then release it, and then it'll close back up.
I got you. So if like a tenant calls me 2 a.m. saying I'm locked out,
Yep.
I can be like, oh, I don't have to send somebody.
Yeah, exactly. And just make sure that you hit release, because when you're opening it, you're saying, I want this door open.
Yeah.
And then so that door will stay open until you release that command, right? Manual lock and manual unlock, don't use those because it's actually locking it in the software. So basically, if you manually lock it, you're telling that reader, don't accept any more information from me.
Lockdown.
Exactly. So
only open or release.
Open and release, yep. And then again, monitoring. If you get a call, somebody's doing something shady in the middle of the night, you can do all the monitoring from remotely from your app. So, especially with these, smaller properties, we tried to focus on the remote capabilities, right? The less you have to be on. Exactly. So the same thing when Temple opens, it's going to be the same setup. So, ultimately you can manage both properties from one location.
And it's all the same apps, all the same systems.
Everything's the exact same. So try to keep it all simple. Make sure that you guys are, have as many tools as possible to get you going through it, right? So, let me see. The last app we're going to go through is the Engage app. This is your apartment logs. And again, you will all have your own login. So it is important not to share. I have properties that, well, we're using the same login. Well, haven't you fired 4 guys since then? They have, because that's another thing with remote access, right? If you're all sharing the same login and somebody gets fired.
I'm locking everybody out.
Exactly. So then we're able to just, say Christian says, screw you guys, I'm out of here, and it's a bad deal. You can just take away his credentials without having to affect everybody else. So always have to prepare for worst case. Same thing with like the tenants and making sure that each, tenant, just because they signed the lease on a Monday doesn't mean they're going to be a happy family on Friday.
Yeah. We've all had those experiences, right?
Moving can be stressful. You don't know if they're going to survive it.
You never know. That might be the straw that broke the camel's back,
All right, so we'll go to La Mirada. So here's your list of units. Anything that shows up in black, it means I'm connected to that device. Anything that's grayed out means it's in the property, I'm just not connected to it. So if, say 101, you're just gonna have to walk closer to it to connect. And this is where you can add users and everything else using your phone. And so, again, some people find it just as easy to do that than anything else. So here's that training test that we just created earlier. So then I would go to credentials, click plus, and then I would select the enrollment reader. So if you're standing in front of that door, you're going to select that unit 111 or whatever it is. That's your enrollment reader. You present the fob, swipe it. You'll notice that the lock turns, starts flashing red when we do that. So then once you do that, you'll swipe it, and then you'll have to update that unit as well while you're standing there. But we'll run through a test unit just to show you guys what's up and how to do it all. So that's it for the software portion. Now we'll go touch some things and see if we can break some stuff. What do you think?
Go with that. As long as you're able to fix it.
We'll hope, right? We'll hope I know what I'm doing.